What exactly was Wildstar? And why is it that almost 2 years after shutting down its servers, many gamers like myself find ourselves often sentimental about this lost, yet strangely familiar, intergalactic world? Today, the noise from an era brimming with MMORPGs is now eerily quiet. The genre itself dominated by a few towering titles, and the creativity in the space largely subdued. With the drastic shift in the industry in recent years, like many others, I've found myself recounting steps and recalling a bit of MMORPG history. Although NCSoft and Carbine Studios' charming title remains nothing more than a buried memory, I look back on Wildstar not to compound on its failures, but to often think warmly on this adventure lost in space. And so, without further ado, I'm Locturnal, and today we'll be turning back the clock and remembering Wildstar. Let's get right into it. Set in the space in and around Nexus, a mysterious abandoned planet, Wildstar's development was committing to creating a world that was uniquely its own. From its diverse character and creature design, to its wonderful, humorous wit of its NPCs, the game always carried itself confidently, with a lighthearted, Ratchet & Clank-like style. And even as the game's population slowly diminished, the character of the world never wavered. And in a way, only having a witty talking robot or a hologram accompanying you made for a powerful and poignant deep space experience. One that is in reality as spectacular as it is lonely.
Yes, I have a lot of junk in my trunk and it spews out constantly without notice. It's a broken latch and not fodder for cruel and juvenile innuendo. Please!
To fully understand Wildstar, and why, despite its failures, it remains ingrained in the memories of enthusiasts like myself, it is important to understand the landscape of an era dominated by MMORPGs. It is difficult to forget the many nameless WoW clones, transaction-heavy chibi games, and other titles that were just poor games through and through, that constantly flooded the market. These games lacked in the character and the originality that many of the most successful titles still remain true to today. Always boasting the next great MMO adventure to gamers weary from a Warcraft grind, these games delivered an uninspired experience while always seeming to capitalize on players' desire to indulge in mounts, vanity, and other flashy but trivial content. Of course, for games with a clear gameplay vision and a sound structure, these things may enhance the overall experience, and in Wildstar's fantastic and amusing world, who can complain about these? Giant flying space cats? Check. Alien giant flying space cats? Check. Beach themed? You get the point. While not game-breaking by any means, speaking briefly on Wildstar's interesting combat system is important as it acknowledges the larger implications it had for the game's performance as a whole. The hybrid action, tab targeting combat was one that intuitively blended familiar tab targeting elements while spicing up gameplay with high mobility, dodge mechanics, and of course freeform action combat abilities. Wildstar's execution of the system made gameplay satisfying, and the fluid, fast-paced motions were a refreshing change to more rigid MMORPGs. These systems, when incorporated into the game's highest levels of content, however, made for an exponentially challenging gameplay experience. At the highest levels, these fast-paced dodge mechanics and freeform abilities were wrapped into raids, originally designed for 40 people. Navigating giant auditoriums, constantly dodging lasers, bombs, and other hazards, and clashing with monstrosities that encapsulated both the wonder and terror of space, was of course a beautiful foundation for Wildstar's endgame, and when executed properly, made for some of the most rich and rewarding gameplay. This would, however, perpetuate the disparity between the hardcore community and the larger, more casual MMORPG population. For most, a once enjoyable, intuitive, and fluid model would prove to be too frustrating, grindy, and ultimately repetitive. The experience for newer, more casual adventurers was harrowing, and further perpetuated by an excessive attunement grind to reach this content. Players who couldn't find the opportunity or willingness to grind through raiding were often left to pick haplessly at daily quests, vanity, or player housing, all hallmarks of lesser games. It is not to downplay the need for the most exceptional and rewarding content, but in a game such as this, with an audience as wide as an MMORPG, it must also show the same commitment to its average and casual players. The lack of development in this space would prove to be severe with regards to Wildstar's growth. Creating a new character and replaying content would always seem futile when, for many players, there was so much content left unexperienced and unexplored. The game in such a way would slowly bleed out via paid model, and the initial free-to-play crowd would eventually follow suit, as the majority of casual gamers were never incentivized to stay. MMORPGs and worlds such as Wildstar seem so much smaller and less chock full with mystery, with the rate at which content is consumed and shared today. The ultimate demise of Wildstar puts into perspective the inherent difficulty that comes with raising a successful MMORPG in such an environment. A graveyard of titles stands as a reminder that design, structural, and financial decisions must all align for these grand projects to succeed. Incredible bits of design and glimpses of a great game are, as in Wildstar's case, not enough to captivate a sustainable number of players, especially when these shortcomings are perpetuated by a lack of new content. The incredible speed at which the industry moves today doesn't slow down for even the most promising titles, and the grand expectations gamers have developed for the genre mean that most games receive a limited window for success. Wildstar's design struggles early on were compounded by the leisurely pace of updates and financial choices that ultimately squeezed its player base. Content-hungry gamers were continually starved, and the attunement walls and high difficulty constructed a barrier between the average player and some of the game's most exciting content. And although Wildstar never recovered from its mistakes, its character, lightheartedness, and unique vision will still be remembered. For me, and for many others, when we imagine our next space adventure, there will always be a sentimental place for flying alien cats, fantastic monstrosities, and of course, the wholesome and forlorn humor from a robotic friend. Hey guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys remember Wildstar and played the game, don't forget to comment your favorite memory below. And if you guys enjoyed the video and are interested in seeing light content, don't forget to like and subscribe, because we're going to be rolling out with a lot of new stuff every week, hopefully twice a week. And yeah, until then, we will see you guys next time. Catch you later.